Bastion is an indie action game originally released for PC and Xbox 360 in 2011, with a release on basically everything else later on. When I last played Bastion in 2012, I walked away claiming it to be a masterpiece, an experience that really left an impression. But does it hold up today? Well, to give a proper answer, I feel like it'd be more fitting to tell you a story. This is the story of my experience playing an apocalyptic fantasy folktale about a kid who was brave enough to leap into the unknown. This tale doesn't begin with the pleasantries of background or proper introduction. No, this story begins with the gruff, raspy voice of a man named Rux.
He gets up.
He refers to me as the kid asleep on a floating island, but who's he talking to? Rux says something about setting off for the Bastion, where everyone agreed to go in case of trouble. Tiles, walls, and other assorted objects start to fall and rise into place in front of me, almost seeming like the world itself is hinging on my every move, as if its very existence and the story being told depends on the kid's presence. I follow the path literally laying itself out in front of me, and before long, I find a hammer that Rux refers to as an old friend of mine. After a couple swings to clear a path, I realize that hammer is probably going to be used for more than just clearing some rocks from the road. I keep running, the path gradually growing in complexity alongside my growth of understanding and capability. Rux says something about the calamity, a term not familiar to me, though I feel that'll change before long. When I reach what looks to have once been a market, I see a blue creature 3 times my size. Rux simply calls it a ghast fella. Nothing I can't handle though, with a few swings of the hammer doing the trick. Maybe I took some hits, maybe not. Either way, Rux seems to know, commenting on the kid's bruises. A short distance later, I find a crude-looking crossbow and add it to my arsenal. Happy to see that I'm not limited to one weapon at a time, but that's not all I find. I grab a memento that Rux comments on the significance of. I feel this won't be the last time, and that Rux might just be the only source of information I'll be getting on my journey. Good thing he's easy to listen to. Upon reaching the old saloon, I see the old bartender, but the color has left him completely. Before I even have time to process the sight, though, Rux says that the calamity got him. A shield drops from the sky, and when I pick it up, the next challenge doesn't waste any time presenting itself. Turrets, ghast fellas, and squirts all show up in waves from all directions, turning the saloon into a battlefield. Once I'm the last man standing, Rux says that the Bastion is through the window, but there's still a bit of ways to go. After a quick fall, I land next to a bow. Grabbing it sends my repeater away. Looks like 2 weapons at a time is my limit. Rux comments on how the kid figured out pretty quick how the bow works, explaining its mechanics and timing. I appreciate the attempt at a tutorial, and realize Rux is more than just my only connection to the story that's unfolding, but he's also here to help me survive. The world around me seems to be done holding my hand, though, as multiple paths seem to open up with hostile creatures and machines popping up all over the place. I eventually find myself at a couple buildings left standing, an arsenal and a distillery. The arsenal lets me change out my weapons, any combination of 2, with a 3rd slot reserved for a special move like a spinning hammer attack or a lethal grenade. The distillery offers an assortment of tonics that make me stronger, healthier, sturdier, you get the idea. As I continue my approach to safety, the music that's been playing beneath my plight starts to make itself known through a combination of sitar and electronic beats. Something's coming. I can feel it. Tough scrap, but I'm still left standing. Then I approach a sealed gate with a large crystal in front. I take it, and Rux calls it the city's heart, which doesn't bode too well for people still in the city, like me. All hell breaks loose as the city begins to fall apart behind me. I gotta move, no time to deal with the turrets or ghast fellas trying to get in my way. Eventually I fall, whether it's at the end of the road or sooner, down to my destination, the Bastion. A peaceful-looking slice of floating paradise lit in vibrant color and warmth. It's the first time I've felt safe since waking up. Turns out I'm not alone. Rux, in the flesh, is there waiting for me, but he's the only one. No one else made it. I walk up to a monument sitting in the middle of the Bastion and place within it a core I took from the heart of the city that nearly got me killed. Just like that, Bastion comes alive. But it needs more. So I set out from the safety of the Bastion to places all over the land of Caelondia that have changed since the apocalyptic calamity. I fight, shoot, and roll my way through what the calamity left behind, learning about the past through rucks and collecting cores and weapons along the way. In my adventures, I add to my arsenal a trusty musket, a quick, sharp machete, a couple gunslinging pistols, a long spear, an old army rifle, a mortar that I'd grow to love, and even a flamethrower. I got the Bastion looking pretty good too, adding an arsenal and forge to upgrade my toys, my very own distillery with a growing collection of fine tonics, a lost and found to collect odds and ends that may come in handy, a memorial to view sketches of what once was and take on challenges to earn some coin, and lastly, my very own shrine, in case I wanted to anger the gods for a little extra challenge. I find something else too though, survivors. A young man named Zolf and a young woman named Zia, both with their own stories I would eventually hear through challenges called reflections. Things don't go my way for too long though. The apocalypse doesn't work that way. That's a story for you to witness for yourself though. What really sets Bastion apart isn't as much what it's trying to say, but rather the voice in which it speaks, or to put more simply, its execution. While some may see Bastion's story and characters aside from Rux as forgettable since there's not a ton of structured narrative, to me it sort of felt like it was part of the point. Bastion at its core is a folktale told by a character existing in a fantasy realm that we only get context for if the character telling the story possesses the knowledge himself. This is why the narration can change in smaller ways based on the kid's performance or choices. In a sense, the player is equal parts the kid as they are Zia, sitting across from Rux as he tells her everything the kid has been through, possibly to avoid another Zolf situation, or maybe he just likes to talk. Either way, the final result is a unique narrative approach that succeeds at showing and telling equally, which is rare. Something else I feel like I need to mention is Bastion's use of music. The composer, Darren Korb, has referred to Bastion's soundtrack as acoustic frontier trip-hop, combining things such as heavily strummed acoustic elements with electronic beats throughout to give us a genre-defying sound that fits right in with the genre-defying style of the game, further cementing the folktale by campfire experience I feel like Supergiant was going for. Korb also makes use of diegetic music, which is any music that is played within the story as we are hearing it, like in films such as Baby Driver or Guardians of the Galaxy. Doing this for tracks such as Build That Wall, as sung by Zia within the game, cleverly adds to her character and identity without the need for blatant exposition.
But now you've got nowhere to run, so build that wall.
So is Bastion forward compatible? Well, at this point I think you already know what I'm going to say. Not only is the answer a yes, but I'd argue it's a game everyone should play at least once. With a short completion time of around 5 hours and about as much platform accessibility as a game can have, what's there to lose? And what you stand to gain, though, is a gaming experience that can challenge the conventions of how to tell a story through narrative, visuals, and even music. In my eyes, Bastion is a timeless work of art. I encourage you to grab a copy of Bastion on your gaming platform of choice, and fortunately for any iPhone or iPad users, at the time of this video's release, it's currently free on the App Store until January 1st, 2020, so go get it. Before I go, I have one final story to tell. Back in 2009, a couple of game developers named Amir Rao and Gavin Simon decided to quit their jobs at EA and work on their own video game. They moved into the same house in San Jose where most of the writing and programming for their project would take place. Around the same time, Amir enlisted the help of a childhood friend named Darren Korb to develop the sound design and music, which would be his first foray into the industry. Darren took on some help of his own in the form of Logan Cunningham to provide the voice of Rux, which would not only be his first time doing voice work, but it would also be recorded in Darren's bedroom. Along with Greg Cassavan, Andrew Wang, and artist Gen Z, the small team of in total 7 differently talented people would release Bastion after 2 years of development to glowing critical reception. Supergiant Games had arrived and would continue to create unique experiences to this day. And it all began with a few passionate creators who, like the kid, were brave enough to take a leap into the unknown. Sweet.